Hello up there. It's Brad J. Lamb. You too can become a condo millionaire. The Todd Shapiro Show. Canada Laughs. SiriusXM 168.
Favorite sponsor and friend, Brad J. Lamb's here, TorontoCondos.com. How are you, Brad?
I'm disturbed today.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. You're coming in hot?
Yeah, I have a question for you, though. Razor.com, how's that work?
RazorCompany.com. Subscription-based service, sort of what Dollar Shave just sold for $1 billion. I don't know if you saw that. You get on the program, you sign up once, you figure out what works for you, and then every month they just sort of ship you those razors, and it's like 40 to 60% cheaper than in the stores, and it really is. It's actually amazing for anyone who uses it. They love it.
Do you use it?
I don't use a lot of razors on my face, but I use it in other areas.
I use it for the dome.
Yeah.
Good. I have a shaved head like you, Brad, and they're good for that.
Yeah.
I don't cut myself a lot with those ones.
Yeah.
With their razors.
The razor industry is a complete ripoff.
Is it?
100%.
I don't mean that.
Yeah.
I think that sounds good. I actually saw the dollar one. They had commercials. They made fun of the whole razor thing. Yeah, you go there, and these things are crap. They last 4 or 5 shaves, and they lock them up like it's gold.
And that's why this company was like, why are people paying? Literally, if you were to spend $25 for one at like a Shoppers Drug Mart or something, you'll probably get 5 for the price or something there. And then they ship you the cartridges and they save you the time for parking. And they figured it out. They're like, we got it. We got the formula. So these guys, hopefully, Canadian-based company. So we're hoping they blow up.
Sounds good. You should actually send me that. I won't remember it, but send it to me because I'm going to try it.
Okay.
Because I am so frustrated with the razor industry. They last 3 times, 4 times. Got to throw them away.
And it's got what I mean. Yeah, I won't ask you what you use. I was going to ask you what you use.
I use a typical, name brand. Starts with a G. Yeah. Right. And I got to say they're shit. They really are. I cut my head all the time. If I use it more than 5 times, I cut my head.
You know what I use for the head sometimes? There's this I used to buy the female blades. There's this they're called Venus. They come with a soap almost, so it makes it a lot smoother. But the problem is you just got this big pink handle in the shower. But
do you use the razor company for?
I use the razor company for my head, and I used to use the Venus razors, the big female ones.
They have a bit of a rounded thing to them, right?
They're rounded, and it has it's like in a bar of soap almost.
Yeah,
it's
got a moisturizer in it,
and it helps with like the cutting. Because the head's a different animal altogether.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you shave your head, Brad?
I do, yeah.
You do?
Well, I don't have a lot of hair on the top of my head.
Okay.
Short blonde ones.
Oh, okay.
But on the side of my head, it's quite thick.
Oh, actually, it's funny. It's funny because I guess like you don't think because you're just like you're a bald guy that's striking. Like you have this you have this dominance about you, and you forget I forget that guys sort of maintain the baldness. Like I think guys who have hair don't think about that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I mean, some people shave their entire head. I don't think I'd shave my entire head if I had a full head of hair. Maybe I do it for goofs every now and then, but I lost my hair when I was 30.
Do you know why?
Male pattern baldness. Too much testosterone.
Yep.
Yeah. Too much anger.
Ah. Is that actually what it is? Is that really?
Well, it really what happens is it's when your growing pattern happens. Like when I was 18, I was about 5'10" and 180, and when I was 22, I was 6'5", 240, and I just became a beast,
like the Hulk,
massive. Yeah. I got, and I worked out a lot too, and I was into sports, so it was just all that massive amounts of testosterone. And I was an angry guy back then, so I got in a lot of fights. Seriously,
were you a good fighter?
Yeah, well, I was more of a brawler. I wasn't trained in fighting, but I was big and strong, so. If someone's on my back, I'd get him off my back and I'd, hurt him.
Did that ever come back to bite you in the ass at all in business? Like, Brad, but in the day, Brad was a brawler at the bar or something?
In university, I was banned from every bar on campus.
Come on.
No, seriously. And now I have 2 scholarships at that university, Queen's. I do 2 engineering scholarships a year at Queen's. And I go back and I speak about my, what I've done in my life. I've gone back 3 or 4 times. And the dean of engineering visits me once every 6 months. We have lunch or dinner. I get invited to parties all the time. And I was a terror when I was in university. I got kicked out of all the good bars in Kingston. By year 3, I had nothing to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I think what's cool about it is you're open about it. we all have a path, right? Like everyone has a path, and the goal is obviously to evolve, to change, to become better, and become a better human being, and be successful. And it's like those are two pretty big extremes, which is a great success story to be sort of a mentor to others who might have been, had a lot of, who had a bunch of fisticuffs in the day.
But what I did do is that I studied very hard when I was at university. So I got a good degree and did well when I was in university. But all the sideline stuff, like 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock, because bars closed at 1 o'clock back then. It was all a lot of drinking, a lot of fighting.
What would tick you off? Like, what would get you?
I was a bit of a punk back then, and so I kind of dressed differently. I had a group of guys dressed differently. We had tight pants and mohawks and stuff like that. That's when I had hair, although it was falling out. And it kind of irritated people because we were different at the university, at a small town, Kingston. Yeah. And so if anyone said anything to me, it would just be like,
"You're done."
Yeah.
Why would anyone say anything to a guy who's 6'5" with a mohawk, Jay?
You know what, though? It's the big guys that get picked on the most, because guys will look at a big guy and be like, "Oh, does he think he's fucking so big for?" And then they try something.
They want to be the guy to take down the big guy.
They want to prove it to themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, well, a lot of little guys are dangerous for sure. Anyway, it was an interesting time.
Yeah,
those 4 years.
That's
very,
cool.
very enjoyable.
Hey, I appreciate you being so open about your past. Brad J. Lamb from. No, I do. I mean, I always say to people about being genuine. Especially you pop on a radio show, and so it doesn't come across like big sells and everything. Like when people get to know personalities, they love that. Like they love realness. I think they builds trust through that, because we all kind of have. We all have done things in our lives that we're not so proud of, right?
Absolutely.
How's the real estate market going?
Well, it's going great, but I got to say I'm really upset about this new 15% tax in British Columbia. It's just a nightmare that it's happened here, and it's racist. It's purely aimed at the Chinese community. There are 500,000 Chinese people in Greater Vancouver. And I hope that they all vote against this party, Christy Clark's party, next time, and get her out of office and show it's a racist tax. It's small-minded. It's going to be very, very hard to track and to verify if someone's really a non-resident. It's very easy to give money to a relative who is a resident to buy something for you. It's insane. It's completely insane. And by the way, it's not a solution. The solution is very simple. Increase the supply. Why are prices so high in Vancouver? There's not enough housing for the number of people who want to live there. Either don't let people live there, and the way to do that is to price them out of the market, or increase the amount of housing. Like, allow buildings to be a bit higher. I've talked about that ad nauseum on the show. Yep. More lots in the countryside. Or allow more density in areas like if you're only allowing 50-foot lots, allow 25-foot lots, allow 20-foot lots, allow more lots, more people. That's the future. And to say that to tax someone who's interested in investing in your country, it's protectionist. Why don't we nationalize the oil again? Why don't we go through that whole stupid process? It's just stupid.
Just for the layman, me. So the Ontario Finance Minister, Charles Sousa, said he'll be watching the success of this BC's new 15% tax very closely. So when did this get passed?
You know what? It probably hasn't yet passed their legislature. It's been proposed.
Okay.
It's imminent, for sure. They're going to table it soon if they haven't already. So it's a 15% land transfer tax for non-residents. And clearly it's a Chinese, it's punishment. It's what it is, because they're buying a lot of real estate. And that's, listen, it's hard to have a perfect bowl of porridge, right? It's too hot or too cold. You can't have a real estate market that's perfect. So you start doing stupid stuff like this in Toronto, and before you know it, you have a massive real estate recession. Like, the people who are buying real estate in Toronto are, in some cases, foreign people. Right? Foreigners, and they don't live here. They also invest in Germany. Like, nobody cares if a foreigner buys an office building, but they care if they buy a house. It's insane. It's just crazy.
I guess, and if you're buying a property, say, for a couple million, now it's going to deter them from buying because another $300,000 on top of that, right? So it's, and so what is the end goal?
Well, I wouldn't buy it. Like, I had a condo in New York. If they said to me, yeah, you can buy here, but there's a 20% extra tax, I say, fuck you. I'm not going to live in New York. Like, that's what I would say.
And there goes your investment.
I'm not going to live in New York. I'm not going to spend the money. I'm not going to visit there as much. I'm not going to deposit. I'm not going to go for dinner, go to bars, buy clothing in their stores, all that stuff, right? I'm not going to do it.
Filters down, no question. It'll crush
Listen,
tourism.
if you're rich
Yeah.
and you can afford multiple homes, you can also afford to do that, right?
Yeah. He
Fuck
just
off.
gave me the finger.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm very pissed off with this tax.
I can
It's
tell.
so small-minded, and the fact that our finance minister is even considering it indicates this is the wrong government for Ontario. Seriously, it is, or the wrong leadership.
I guess, the real estate market is so important, isn't it, in determining kind of like the rest of how things, like an ecosystem. Like you need it going strong.
Yeah.
So if you're going to deter money from coming in, that will trickle down. People still won't be able to afford necessarily those homes, but they'll be affected in other ways, whether because less money from someone going to their shop or less that type of stuff. And I guess, is that sort of the ultimate
exactly.
fear?
Look at this in Toronto. So why do we have 20 new office buildings? More office buildings have been built in Toronto in the last 5 years than New York City.
Wow, that's crazy.
Any city in North America. This is the number one boomtown. Why do you think that is? Do you think it's because all these office jobs just materialize downtown? It's because we built 40 or 50,000 condo units or more downtown, and these people are young and are educated and have skills, and they want to live and work in the same place. So boom, office buildings get built, and you start damaging, like you said, the ecosystem. Take the oxygen out, then the plants die, and then animals that eat plants die, and they can't breathe either. The whole thing's going to collapse in itself. It's so dumb. It's so dumb.
I mean, what government meeting would sort of go through their, what would be proposed, and then why would they actually go ahead with this kind of stuff? What is their rationale?
Because that government in BC wants to get reelected. There's a huge amount of pressure on municipal councillors and the mayor of Vancouver, and there's pressure on the minister, the prime minister, the premier of BC, Christy Clark, and there's lots of pressure on Justin Trudeau. And these guys mostly care, at the end of the day, about getting reelected. So if it's an election issue and people want it, they're going to kowtow to the ignorant masses. And this is not a smart thing to do. We have to educate people that this is not a smart tax. On the surface, it's things. If you think, someone in Vancouver will say, great, this is good, now I'll be able to afford something. No way. Here's what's going to happen. Developers will stop building condos. Who are you going to sell them to? Who's going to buy them? There aren't any young couples.
So there'll actually be less supply, which will just make the prices go up even more.
Exactly.
Wow.
Young couples do not line up in sales centers to buy something 5 years from now. They buy it when it's ready at the time. That's when they need the place. Who makes this stuff happen are investors. They buy it, they wait the 5 years, they close on it, they rent it, they sell it a couple years later to a couple or a family or an individual that needs a home. That's how the system works. And if you take away the engine of the system, it collapses on itself. So all that's going to happen is less properties will get developed in any city where this tax happens. Less homes will get developed, and that means prices will go higher.
Is there anything that can be done to sort of towards the Ontario government more specifically to say, like, hey guys, whether it's from you or other people to go, like, think this through a little bit. How do people sort of speak up to that?
I will not shut up about this issue. Every single day I'm ranting and raving about this issue, and I'm going to do everything I can, which I'm not that influential, but I'm going to talk to as many people as I can. I'm going to tweet, I'm going to Facebook, I'm going to Instagram. Every single person who listens to me, I'm going to tell them this is stupid.
All right.
That's what everyone should do that cares about this situation.
You got a speakerphone here, obviously. Brad J. Lamb, TorontoCondos.com. That's good. It's the business of real estate would be stressful, eh, Brody?
Yeah, I can imagine having to do that. Would this change in Vancouver bring more foreign investment to Toronto, though? Because now these guys are looking for a better situation, a better place to buy real estate.
It's going to bring more foreign investment to Calgary and Vancouver. Calgary and Toronto, for sure. Even though Calgary is in a bit of a bad way real estate-wise, prices are great. And these are some long-term investors. And I would not be surprised if Calgary gets a boost from this. But Toronto will definitely get a boost from this.
Brad, when people say long-term investors, what is that, like 10 years, 20 years? What is that like typically? How far, what kind of vision do people have when it comes to that?
I'll tell you, Chinese philosophy investing is forever.
Wow.
It's generational. It's not in their life. It's in multiple lives.
I love that, actually.
Yeah, it's the way to do it. I'm looking at buying a building downtown, an office building. It's like a brick and beam building. And the same family has owned it for 100 years.
God, I love that.
Canadian family.
Wow.
Who's the trust fund baby selling it now? No, Brad, sorry, Brad. Brad and his team were talking, and I was just thinking, like, there's so many fun stuff, and I always want to get like, listen, Brad is a huge developer. He's an amazing guy. He's one of the smartest businessmen around, and he's done so much for this city and for this country in terms of developing it. But what does he think about things like Pokemon Go? What are your thoughts on people running around in the city at all hours looking to find Pikachu?
Our office was featured in that one day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the lamb on the top of where my building is.
Yeah,
it's asinine. And, when I read it in the newspaper that it was this huge thing was taking place, first thing I thought is someone's going to walk in the middle of the traffic and get run over and die, and that's happened.
What do you think's happened? What's the disconnect that where we want this fake world? We don't want to accept the realities of this world, which aren't easy. And we were talking about this earlier today. And I feel Canadians are becoming like this way, Brad. And I don't know how you feel. And it saddens me that they really are becoming more two-faced with age, with generations growing up, where they don't want to talk about the stuff we are talking about now. They want to be all PC. They want to all be kind to each other. But granted, the dinner table comes and it's around amongst maybe their only friends. Then will they say the things that need to be said? Do you feel like there's this disconnect now?
Yeah, I think there is, but I think that mostly the people running around playing this game are probably like 12 to 28 or 30, maybe, right?
Okay. Well, there's some. Yeah, I mean, there's some older dudes doing this too, right?
Yeah, but there is. But I think so. I'm leading to something. So I think that group of people are having a harder time finding their fit in the world, right? And I think that's an enormous problem. So escapism, whether it's through something like that or through drugs or through alcohol or through playing games, just staying at staying at home rather than going outside and playing road hockey or baseball or whatever, you stay inside and you play, Car Theft 45, right? I mean, I think that's the problem that it's I think young people are having a hard time finding out exactly who they are and how they fit into the world, and that's the responsibility of our generation and the generation maybe before me and after me to help make that change. So
do you fear for those that real young, the younger generation, even maybe sort of like the early stage or the later stage of millennials and even younger? Do you kind of fear where they'll be in 20 years? And
it's super tough. It really is. It's a very, very tough place right now. To even in Canada, like I see so many people making the wrong decisions every day.
How so? Like what would an example be?
Well, like for instance, I see a lot of young women, right, making wrong decisions for status, right? It might be social status, it might be monetary status, it might be a product like a great pair of shoes or a purse or a handbag. I see it all the time.
Save your money. Like be smart with it,
I'm not
right?
talking about that. I'm talking about people making bad decisions to get ahead, right? Not smart decisions that are based on, a long life, but it's a short gain life, right? And it's not just women doing it. Men are doing it too. It's everybody. I just think that it's harder to, when I talk to people buying a home, it just seems so impossible, right? It just seems like it's so far away that they could possibly imagine this. And I was reading the newspaper. There's a columnist I don't particularly like that writes in the Globe and Mail business section. He's always slagging real estate, and he's like, they had a savings calculator for people, and that someone would have to be, if they made X amount of money, they'd have to be, 50 before they'd be able to get a down payment to buy a home. And then they'd be, it wouldn't be enough down payment because prices rose too much. So they're just locked out of housing. I don't know. I think there's a lot of problems, and I think what I think we should be doing is we should be starting, mentoring groups where you can get, 50. Well, you can start small, but a certain number of people that have their shit together, and they can sit down with groups of 10 or so people for an hour or two a day and just talk and answer questions and give feedback and mentor people and talk about their experiences and things like that. And you could get doctors, lawyers, real estate people, programmers, anyone who's achieved some level of success to talk to people from an early age. Like, you got to get them when they're 12, before they start making bad decisions, even bad decisions about what courses to take in university,
What side do you see me on that? Being mentored or maybe being a mentor?
No, I think you're a mentor.
Thank you.
No, you are, of course, right?
The one advice I will say, and I've only started to get a grasp of this with probably with age, and I think having a kid changed everything for me, was that, it is about having a career and not just instant success in whatever you choose. And it's not to say that you can't switch a passion and have a new career and make the most of that. And a lot of that comes in building relationships on the way. And I see with millennials, like if you jump a job just to get an extra $1,000 on your salary, or maybe, it's closer to your home, so that appeals to you, or just the change is even what it is, you're going to burn a bridge on that, and if you can last a little bit longer, maybe the sacrifice, maybe it's 10 grand a year, maybe instead of 85, it's 75, which is a great living. But you build a lot of relationships that, and one day when something comes crashing, which ultimately it does for a lot of us, you'll have someone to call. You'll have someone to pick up a phone to get that help when you'll need it, and people will want to help. I think the relationship aspect of life, and that I feel is getting lost. I really do. I feel that's getting lost. More so in the workplace environment. It's okay to have friendships and relationships and work hard, and that's one of the things I would like to try and mentor to people.
You're 100% right about that. I see that in my real estate brokerage every day, where people make a leap for the perception of more money in their pocket, but what they lose is loyalty, education, mentoring, a shelter in a storm. When things go bad, is this person going to help me, right? And that gets built over time through trust and a building of loyalty. And it's a problem today for sure. And I mean, it was less of a problem 50 years ago, and it's become more of a problem as I suppose as employers have more options to terminate people and try to save money and cut back. So it's a two-way street.
Yeah, that's
right?
fair.
You have to provide almost a guarantee of employment to get someone to give you the loyalty that you want as an employer, to get the best out of them and they get the best out of you. It's a two-way street for sure. And I think a lot of companies are very quick to chop and get rid of people rather than hang on to them if they can.
But hierarchy's got to be important, I think, still respecting the hierarchy of things and the experience and stuff. I think, would you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, I used to like my father was full of shit in many ways. And we didn't always agree. But, when my dad would tell me stories of his youth, and, an incredible life, right? Like, couldn't imagine living the life he lived till he was 20 or 22, right? And you learn from those stories, right? It's like reading a book, but it's being told to you. And I think that actually that's something that I also, I feel that people don't read enough, right? Like, they don't get enough. I mean, it's hard to get all the experience you need in the world just by living your life. So I think people should be reading more, like a minimum book a month. Right?
That's Oprah. I think, does Oprah do that? I think Oprah. Yeah, the book club, right? Jay, we should have a book club.
100%.
The Brad J. Lamb Realty Book Club.
You should.
Yeah, let's do it. Jay, I'm not honestly. I need to pick up on my reading for sure. Are you reading right now? Because you're more about you educate yourself a lot.
I try to. I haven't been reading lately though. No, I haven't. I have nothing on my nightstand.
It's crazy.
By the way, good cartoons don't count.
You're a Game of Thrones fan, aren't you?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I don't understand that fucking shit.
They just passed the book, right? They've outpaced the books.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. That could be true.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I did see a picture of the guy who wrote it. Interesting looking dude.
Okay.
But what an unbelievable. It's an unbelievable TV show. The best TV show ever, I got to say. Ever.
Jay, are you a Game of Thrones guy?
I watched the first 2 seasons. I love it. I just like binge it in the wintertime. I try not to get into television during like nice weather.
Brad, is it something you can? Because I haven't. I tried, to be honest, and I was like, I kind of got too horny at the times. I don't think I should have been, because there was like a lot of nudity in it. You know,
There is.
And I'm like, so I'm trying to follow along, and then with my ADHD, next thing I know, say a great pair of boobs. I'm like, I'm completely lost now. I'm only thinking about one thing. But I mean, is it one of those shows you can pick up at any time? Like, you know?
No, I think you need to start from the beginning.
Okay.
And get a sense, because there's an awful lot of betrayal
Yeah.
that takes place, and there's a lot of pretty graphic murder.
Yeah.
It's a, you know, it is, I mean, it's obviously just a fantasy, but it's kind of it's a little bit like Lord of the Rings, but way more violent. And it's, you know, there's dragons and other odd creatures.
It's kind of like the real estate game.
A little bit. A little bit.
But the betrayal, I mean, it's it's funny, because when you watch shows with betrayal, you start to see, like, as violent as things are, you start to realize nothing, whether it's fantasy or the olden days or now, like, it's kind of always, it's just, it reminds you of how crazy this world is, right?
Yeah. And, you know, the thing about this show is it's one of those shows, much like Lord of the Rings, that the moral, the ones that never lose the moral high ground are the ones that keep moving year to year, because a lot of people die in this series, and you can clearly see now who the two people are that are going to end up at the top of the mountain.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a good show.
I'm excited to. I'm gonna maybe start doing it from day one. We've talked about your daughter before, and the humble side of Brad J. Lamb. What you guys go to movie? You do your movies and stuff. The Secret Life of Pets is out. What do you think of these types of movies?
I did see that movie. I see every cartoon.
Really?
Yeah. My ex wife is cool to let me take her to cartoons.
Okay.
So I see every cartoon. I mean, I saw that. I've seen Angry Birds. I've seen Zootopia. You name it, I've seen everyone. I'm going to go to Ice Age this weekend.
Nice.
I actually love those cartoons. They're very funny. They're very clever. They really are.
What's your favorite so far this year?
I think Zootopia. I really enjoyed Zootopia.
Yeah,
I've probably seen it 15 times, because once she sees it in the theater,
yeah,
and then it comes out, like, I don't know, 2 months later, you know, on Apple TV or whatever. It's like, I want to watch Zootopia. I want to watch Zootopia. So watch it twice in a night. I'm like, please. I've seen it probably 15, 20 times.
Have you ever said that to your young daughter? I want to watch this movie now 15 times.
Always complaining. Okay. Always complaining. Some of the shit I have to watch, kid shows, are just brutal.
But the big movies they're pretty solid. I guess
Yeah,
they figure out a way to, like, kind of have the adult humor.
Yeah.
With his, I think that's what
Absolutely,
it is.
they do that.
Kids programming is very odd. I do, like, I have young nieces and nephews, and I try to watch, like, the television with them just to see what they're watching. And for the most part, I like the cartoons, but I always get weirded out during the live television stuff. You have, like, these guys, the Wiggles. They're these four weirdos.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I would never trust you assholes near my fucking niece. But you don't want to say that to your niece, because you don't want to, like, break her head, telling her, like, stay away from that Wiggle guy. He's weird. It's so funny how, how weird kids' TV is when you get to watch it.
It is weird. And I'll tell you, having a daughter, the princess thing, it's so overplayed. Everything's princesses.
Yeah.
It's just brutal to watch. My God.
There's only one type, and it's princess.
They're all princesses. Yeah,
they're all princesses. Even if you're watching, like, a show with the animals, there's still a princess, like dog or whatever.
Have you ever seen My Little Pony?
Yes.
Oh,
it's
God.
all princesses.
Brutal.
They fly around.
We've had bronies on the program before.
Those guys are weird. That's seriously wrong.
I think that's fair to say.
Oh,
okay, let's be honest.
100%.
Yeah.
I was on my Twitter feed, and my friend, who I guess he was out in the park with his daughter, and he saw a brony, a grown man dressed up as a little pony, and he's taking a photo with him and his daughter in the My Little Pony. And I was talking to him afterwards, and he's like, dude, man, there's just this freak weirdo. I'm trying to convince my 2-year-old not to go see the pony, but she's losing her mind.
Because of course, for her, it's like that. She doesn't get the reality.
She doesn't
of it.
understand it. And he's like, man, I had my fist balled up, and I was ready to punch it any second, but the photo turned out really nice. Nothing happened.
My boy's 1 today. My little boy turns 1.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's kind of cool. So
what are you doing?
I'm just getting drunk. No.
We're gonna maybe a party.
We're having a big party. Yeah, I think it's an excuse. No, we're just gonna hang. We're having a little barbecue. But I was thinking, any suggestions of what to get a 1-year-old? I got to go quickly.
Well, I mean, they love. It's a boy, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, I don't know about boys. My daughter loves stuffed anything, any animal that's pink and purple stuff. Probably boys like green and blue, that kind of thing.
Get him some. Okay, that's cool.
Like maybe a woolly mammoth, something macho.
Woolly mammoth.
Yeah.
What about like do they have Game of Thrones stuffed animals? Do they little much
Stuffed heads, maybe.
Dragons that breathe fire.
Brad J. Lamb.
The Todd Shapiro Show. Canada Laughs. SiriusXM 168. The Todd Shapiro Show.
All right, we really appreciate you watching that video. Make sure you check out some more videos. Why not? Let's get caught in the Shapiro Show vortex right here. Or you can subscribe to the channel right here and check out videos at any point because we're going to give you all the alerts. We do appreciate you being a part of our family. Most families hate each other, not ours. We love you.